The heat in the small apartment held onto everything: bleach, spoiled meat, a chemical sting that rose from blue barrels with metal rings bent out of shape. A digital clock glowed 11:30 p.m. in red along the counter. The chain at the front door rattled, then snapped as two Milwaukee officers pushed inside. On the carpet, a man sat shirtless, wrists still marked from handcuffs, breathing fast. He pointed toward a drawer and said the words that made the room smaller. "There are photos." The officers tugged the drawer, found Polaroids, and then looked at each other. The man who lived here, Jeffrey Dahmer, watched their faces change. Hours earlier, a warm Monday in late July 1991, had crawled toward midnight. Tracy Edwards had followed Dahmer up the stairs of the Oxford Apartments, Unit 213, after beer at a bar and the promise of more drinks and photographs for quick cash. Inside was a fish tank with dark water, a bed with black sheets, and an odor that seemed to come from the vents and also the walls. The air conditioner clicked on, then failed to help a sealed blue drum sat near the kitchen. Edwards noticed the handcuffs only when Dahmer's voice dropped and his body blocked the door. Dahmer told him to lie down. He pressed the knife close and said he wanted to take pictures. The cuffs closed over one wrist. Edwards tried to keep him talking, about family, about the fish, as the seconds stretched. When Dahmer turned to the television, The Exorcist Authority, green letters washing the room, Edwards ran. He hit the hallway barefoot with the cuff around one wrist and sprinted into the street to flag a squad car. The officers tried a key Dahmer offered. It didn't fit. They followed Edwards back upstairs to clear up what sounded like a strange domestic dispute. The door opened to the smell. The fish swam in dull circles behind algae. A framed picture hung crooked above a small shrine of candles. The Polaroids came out of the drawer. The images showed bodies posed on the same bed just feet away. The bedroom held an open refrigerator with a head in the bottom compartment wrapped in plastic. The freezer stored more. A stock pot sat in the sink. A box of baking soda could not hide what lay behind it. The blue barrel contained acid used to strip flesh. Polaroids mapped the room from angles the living never see. What the police found in Unit 213 turned a missing persons board into a roll call. The story had started long before the night the photos came out of the drawer. Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer, born in 1960, was a quiet Ohio kid who collected bones from dead animals and drank through high school as his family fell apart. In 1978, weeks after graduation, he picked up a hitchhiker, Stephen Hicks, near Bath Township, and killed him when he tried to leave. He scattered the remains. Years drifted. He tried the military, then Miami, then moved in with his grandmother in West Allis, Wisconsin. He worked at a chocolate factory. He learned that men could be lured home with promises of money for photographs. He learned that sleeping pills in a drink dropped the body down into silence. In 1987, at the Ambassador Hotel, he killed Stephen Tuomi and later said he woke up beside the body with no memory of doing it. He bought a suitcase to move the remains. Victims followed, mostly young men and boys of color, many gay, many poor, many new to Milwaukee's bar scene: James Doxtator, Richard Guerrero, Anthony Sears. He moved into the Oxford Apartments in 1990. People complained about the smell. The building manager asked about it. Dahmer said his fridge broke, that fish had died. He kept trophies: a skull in a closet, bones in the bedroom. He studied bodies the way other people study manuals. He drilled into living skulls and poured chemicals, trying to make a person who would not leave. In May 1991, a 14-year-old Conorak Syntha phone staggered into the street outside the building, naked, bleeding, and dazed. Neighbors called 911. Officers arrived. Dahmer told them the boy was his adult boyfriend who had too much to drink. The officers walked the pair back upstairs, handed the boy over, and left. Soon after, Dahmer killed him. The call logs later captured the officers joking about delousing themselves. The mistake hung over the city long after. By July 22, 1991, Dahmer's routine was practiced. Tracy Edwards disrupted it. After the arrest, detectives worked through the night with fans on and windows open, even though it did little. They counted knives, chemicals, saws, a hypodermic needle, a skull painted gray to look like plastic. They found a drawing of an altar Dahmer planned to build from bones and candles. They took the Polaroids and laid them across a table under fluorescent light. Each one was a record. Each one located a person who had vanished and did not come home. Back at the precinct, Dahmer waived his rights and talked. He spoke for hours in a flat voice, drinking coffee. He confessed to killing 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. He described where he met them, bus stops, bars, the mall, and what he did afterward. He said he wanted them to stay, that he tried to make a zombie, that he felt empty when they left. He knew the dates. He knew the order. He cried only when asked about his family. He said he was not insane. He was sick, but he knew what he did was wrong. Milwaukee woke into News Live from 25th Street, reporters framed against police tape and a brick facade. Families began to call stations with names. Behind them, evidence techs carried coolers with labels no one wanted to read. As the days went on, the city heard the names and ages: Errol Lindsay, Tony Hughes, Matt Turner, Jeremiah Weinberger, Oliver Lacey, Joseph Braidhoft. 17 in all. Each name was a person with a mother, a friend, a history that didn't end in Unit 213 until it did. The trial opened in January 1992. Dahmer pleaded guilty but insane to 15 counts. The courtroom held families clutching photographs, and a defendant who looked smaller than the crime experts argued about diagnosis and control. The jury found him sane. The judge pronounced the sentence 15 consecutive life terms, later followed by a 16th from Ohio outside. Families tried to make sense of grief in cold wind. One father shouted in a hallway until deputies steadied him by the elbows. Another mother held a picture and said her son was kind, and that was the part she wanted on the record. Dahmer entered Columbia Correctional Institution and became inmate 177252. Inside, he found routine, a job in the kitchen, a Bible. He wrote letters. In interviews, he said he wished for death. On November 28, 1994, while cleaning a bathroom with 2 other inmates, he was bludgeoned with a metal bar by Christopher Scarver. He died at a hospital, age 34. Some families called it justice. Others said nothing brought back the dead. The Oxford Apartments stood for 3 more years, a building no one wanted to live in or look at. In 1992, the city emptied it. In 1994, it was demolished, the lot fenced off, as if the ground itself needed to be contained. People drive by and slow at the chain link. They see grass where a window once glowed blue at night. They remember how a man ran barefoot into the street with a cuff on his wrist and found officers who listened long enough to change the ending. In the files, the photographs remain evidence, not rumor. So do the names. What happened in that apartment was not a puzzle solved by luck. It was a pattern seen too late. It ended because someone survived long enough to speak, and because 2 officers took a closer look when a key didn't fit. That is where the light turned. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.